Hello, my name is Frederick Hansen, and this is my General 3 assignment. For this assignment, I interviewed a friend of mine who is a neighbor and who has experienced substance use in the past. To protect his privacy, I will use the name of John. Before the interview, I asked his permission to use his responses for this assignment, and he explained that it was fine. So I will not mention his real name. I will just call him John. Now, the drug of choice. When I asked John if he had a drug of choice, he identified cocaine. He explained that cocaine was his preferred drug because of the high it gave him and the way it made him feel energized, confident. He described cocaine as a stimulant and said that at that time he was drawn to the feeling it produced. He explained that cocaine was so popular in their community that in that area, and because of the feeling that it gave him, he was also not only using it, he was selling it. And he says the street name for it was the White Lady because it gave them that incredible feeling of high, which he loved so much. Now, I asked him about the substance use and interaction effects. Now, John discussed what happened when substances were combined. He described using cocaine and heroin together when he visited his cousin's home, which led to an overdose and hospitalization. He lost consciousness and later learned from the medical staff that they had to revive him twice. They thought he was gone, but he came back. They had to revive him twice, and he became very scared. And that was the turning point because it showed him how dangerous substance use had become and how quickly it could become life threatening. His spiritual beliefs and recovery. John explained that his Christian faith came later on, but and also it became important over time and later on became his excuse me major source of strength in his recovery. He described a moment in church when he decided to let go drugs. He went to church with $4,000 worth of cocaine in his pocket, and the preaching was going on, and after the church, a couple of elders confronted him, tried to talk to him, and challenge him to change his ways. And they prayed over him. He said he just went to the bathroom, took the powder out of his pocket, the cocaine out of his pocket, 4,000 worth, and flushed it in the toilet. I believe his answer showed a spiritual conviction, personal will, and a desire for change. I think all of this played a role in his recovery. I also asked John several questions. I asked what motivated him to stop using drugs. And one of the things that he mentioned was how the overdose affected him. He was also impacted by seeing how drugs that he was also selling harmed the young people. And I asked what was the most difficult part of his recovery was, and he said that he had to stay away from his usual environment, spend time with family outside his comfort zone who could support him. I also asked him what helped him remain sober, and he said faith, distance from old influences, and a firm decision not to return to that lifestyle were important. I asked what advice he would give to someone currently struggling with addiction. His advice was that the person not to give up, but to seek guidance, avoid harmful influences, and be careful about environments where drugs are easily available. He talked about shelters and rehab centers. He says most rehab centers that he knew, some of the people in there were selling drugs. I also asked what he wished addiction counselors understood. John said counselors should take time to learn about the substance people use and understand addiction from the person's perspective. He believed that counselors should be knowledgeable about compassion, about com- should be knowledgeable, compassionate, and practical when helping people find safe recovery resources. How does this impact my approach to addiction counseling? This interview impacted my view of addiction counseling by reminding me that addiction is not only a clinical issue, but also a personal, relational, and spiritual struggle. John's story showed me that the importance of listening without judgment, understanding the person's history, and recognizing the role of environment, relationship, guilt, faith, and support in recovery. As a future counselor, I would want to approach clients with compassion while helping them build accountability, safety, healthier support, and most importantly, have the resources available to assist them to change their environment. The NA and AA recovery strategies. Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous use several strategies that support recovery. Admitting powerlessness helps a person become honest about the seriousness of addiction and recognize the need for help. Regular meetings provide structure, encouragement, and connection with others who understand recovery. Having a sponsor gives the person guidance and accountability. Working through the 12 steps helps individuals take responsibility, seek spiritual growth, and make changes. Making amends supports healing by encouraging people to acknowledge harm they have caused and work toward repairing relationships. A supportive recovery community also reduces isolation and reminds people that they do not have to recover alone. My reflections. My thoughts after this interview were that John's story was honest, serious, and eye opening. Hearing about his overdose and the way faith, family, environment helped him change made me realize how complex addiction recovery can be. His responses showed me that recovery is not just about willpower. It involves support, accountability, spiritual strength, and a desire to live differently. This interview reminded me that every recovery story is personal and that addiction counselors need to listen with compassion, patience, and understanding. My closing summary. So, in closing, John's story shows that addiction recovery involves more than simply stopping substance use. It often requires honesty, support, accountability, spiritual strength, and willingness to change one's environment. His experience helped me better understand the importance of treating each client with compassion while also encouraging practical steps toward long-term recovery. Thank you. And for my references, I have Alcoholic Anonymous, no date, the 12 steps, uh, www.aa.org, the 12 steps. And then the second, I have Narcotics Anonymous World Service, ND Narcotics Anonymous, https/na.org. Thank you.